Welcome back, everybody, to another incredible mentorship meetup Wednesday. Whoop, whoop. I am your host, your mentor and big sister, Deborah Ann Danae Felthazen, director of the Next Gen Prophets, and here to give you restoration for the fire that we have been experiencing these last 3 weeks. Guys, these last couple of weeks have been phenomenal. We started our conversation a few weeks back about talking about fire, how to start a fire and start that fire inside that's shut up in your bones. Last week we spoke about the destructive power of fire, and today's a little bit different because today I want to talk to you about the restorative nature of fire, restoration through fire, because next week, y'all, next week, mark it down in your calendar. Next week, Wednesday, that is July 2nd, with your big brother, Prophet Michael Felthazen, he will be coming to activate and to impart that fire, to bring it all out. Everything that's been shut up in your bones, like we were discussing from day one of the ashes and authority message that we've been working through. He is going to pull it up out of you. He's going to take some fire liquid. Some of y'all just got a small flickering flame right now, and you just need a little boost. You need an extra fire liquid to start it, to roar it into a blazing wildfire. Some of you got some wildfires that's running out of control, and you need someone to help you kind of like get it a little bit back under control. And that's what your big brother is going to do. Next week, we are going to get super practical with prophetic activation. So please make sure you've set aside the time in your calendar, take an extra long lunch break, whatever it is that you need to do to be at next week's prophetic activation class with your big brother. You guys don't want to miss this. We are going to get even more practical. We're going to really put this all hands on. So what you also need to be doing, if you have not already done it, because my tribe knows exactly what I'm doing and why I'm telling you all this stuff right from the get-go, right? Y'all know it's that time again. Reach out to a battle buddy. Connect with your battle buddies, your prayer partners. If there's somebody who's got a fire shut up in their bones and they don't know how to draw it out, they don't know how to pull it out, they've been trying and they don't know, you need to reach out to them. Text them. Give them a call. You have 2 minutes. 2 minutes to pick up your cell phone device, cellular device, okay? For the first time, it is not rude. Pick up your phone. Dial that friend. Send them a text message. Say, mentorship meetup, Facebook Live, jump into the Zoom room if you're on the mailing list, get there. Your fire is got to be lit today because that's what's going to happen. That is what is going to happen in today's session. So you've got 2 minutes. Reach out to your battle buddy, reach out to your prayer partner, reach out to a friend, a fellow believer that you know has got fire shut up in their bones and it needs to be pulled out. That's what you need to go ahead and do. Go reach out to them. I'm giving you got 1 more minute. Well, 1 minute, like 30 seconds to do that. And then we're going to be jumping into today's mentorship meetup. While y'all do that, I want to give a very, very special shout out. So as some of you know, we have been working on our Next Gen Prophets Outpost here in San Diego. Now, we've still got some stuff we're working through. We're breaking through barriers. We're breaking through some open doors. We're working on getting some business loans possibly and some property to start this outpost. But in the meantime, a lot of our tribe have been reaching out to support us either with once-off donations or monthly donations, becoming partners and sponsors of this tribe. And I want to give a shout out to one sponsor in particular, one very particular tribe member who has been faithful in her giving. She has been faithful in her support, not just financially, but with her prayers. She's active in our tribe. She reaches out. She serves wherever she can while still being a full-time mom, a full-time work, full-time minister. She is honestly a rock star. And I want to give a shout out to Deborah Rotefarb, my tocayo, my namesake. She has really been a huge supporter of our tribe and this vision from day one. And I want to give a shout out to her, and I want to honor her today, because sometimes, like right now, she's not here in class, but I know she'll drop in later on because she's working. And despite how busy she is, no matter how hard she has to work, she always shows up. She shows up to every class, she shows up to every event, and she is always the first to give towards the outpost, towards this tribe and what we are doing. I believe it is through, honestly, Deborah's support alone, we are able to sponsor 2 or 3 people in our tribe to receive the training that they need. There are some ministers where, for example, we've got a gentleman from India, and we've got a couple of people from Jamaica and a few other countries where the US dollar exchange is ridiculous for the local currency. And because of the support of our sponsors, we're able to have them start at like a $25 monthly subscription, and they get the benefits of our leopard subscription. They get the benefits of our elephant subscription, where they can get hands-on training and mentorship that's not available to them in their country or in their region because of the sponsors that we have. Guys, your sponsorship, your contributions every single month are literally reaching the nations. You are equipping and enabling us to provide training for those people in areas that you ordinarily would not be able to reach. So Deborah, I want to let you know your sponsorship is raising up and preparing the next prophetic move in India. It is preparing and opening up the way for the next prophetic move in Jamaica and a few other countries all over Africa. That is how much your support has meant to us and meant to this tribe. And I want to honor you for that. And I want to honor the rest of our tribe who have been contributing towards this vision through prayer, through all of your investment. Guys, thank you so much. She just entered the waiting room. Deborah, you're going to have to go back and watch this recording, because you just got a huge shout out for the impact that you have made internationally through the Next Gen Prophets, through your giving. Deborah, you have are literally helping us pioneer moves in 2 or 3 countries at this precise moment. So make sure you watch this recording. Thank you so much for your support, Deborah. You are definitely one of our big sisters here in this tribe, and I look forward to seeing just how much more you're going to grow in grace, in anointing, and stature just from this event alone. So if any of you are inspired by Deborah and the work that she's doing through our tribe, there's some giving information in the comment section, in the chat box. Feel free to give towards this vision. Become a monthly sponsor of our outpost. The sooner we get those finances together, the sooner we can find and put that property in place where you guys can come and receive training. Our vision, I want to share our vision with you guys very quickly, because this is something that's been burning on Michael and my heart for you guys, and why we are taking so much time to deliberately put this together right. God said something very interesting to Michael and I. He said that this baby, this outpost that we are birthing, is his baby. And he said that it must have his DNA. No one else can have a say on how this baby is going to be born and how it's going to be raised. And so he's being very deliberate about the avenues that we're going through and the vision that he has. And I want to tell you guys a little bit about the vision that he's given to us, and why Michael and I have been so deliberate about working with you as our tribe predominantly to see this vision come to pass. And this is the vision. First of all, this outpost that we are starting in San Diego is going to be the first of many. The vision and the goal is to have one of these outposts in at least starting every single state and every single continent. Every single country and every single state will have a Next Gen Prophets outpost. And this will be a gathering place, a place for all of our prophets internationally to gather locally, to connect, to collaborate on vision. Guys, our tribe is where we internationally get together. But some of you know what it's like when you are positioned in a particular territory, just like our tribe member in India, where he is persecuted and he had his previous pastors go to prison for being Christians. He himself nearly went to prison because he was a believer, because he was preaching the gospel, and he's having to pioneer. He knows God's called him to pioneer this prophetic move in his region in India, where he is being persecuted. And I want to establish an outpost there in India where he can connect with fellow tribe members, fellow prophets, those who have the similar vision in that area where they can come to receive resources, where they can come to receive the equipping, where they can come to receive whatever it is that they need without fear of persecution. I want our prophets in Africa to have all the resources they need to pursue, to establish their visions and to serve under their apostles. I want our prophets in Jamaica to be able to break free of all of the ancestral bondage that's been laying on them, that is restricting them financially. I want to see the prophets here in Mexico break free of the poverty mentality that is keeping them restricted. We've had an influx in crime here in Mexico. More gangs are moving in more than ever because the people are desperate. They are desperate for a change of lifestyle. And right now they are in so much bondage. The only way out, they believe, is through crime and through drugs. And they don't know any other way. They only know how to basically sell their wares for nothing on the side of the road for the tourists that come in, or to, turn to a life of crime, or they sit in abject poverty. And that is not God's will for his people. And our next gen prophets outposts are going to be the gathering places. They are going to be on the front lines of those communities, bringing change. We want to partner with local ministries. We want to partner with local businesses, hospitals who are going to help us pioneer the changes. We're not just changing one system here, guys. These outposts are going to pioneer the change in multiple systems. And I'm not just saying that because it's a pipe dream. I'm saying that because Michael and I have already started to do this. We've done this personally. God's positioned us in very particular systems where we've seen change. We know this formula works. And I know it's working even more so because I'm watching my tribe who are working with us bring these same changes in the systems God has planted them in. And that's what this outpost is about. And that's why we're fighting so hard. And that's why we're facing so much warfare and so much pushback from the devil for this outpost. Because it's not just a place where we're going to gather to have church. It is a gathering of champions for this community, for the state of California, that is going to revolutionize the prophetic move internationally. And that's why I'm so proud and I'm so honored for the tribe members who have contributed towards this vision. And especially for Deborah, who I know has been our number one supporter from the day she joined this tribe. She has been giving into this vision. And it is because of her that we are starting this hub here on the West Coast first. We are starting it here in California, here in San Diego, because she was one of the very first to give towards this vision and the very first to say, we need change here. And that's why the door has opened here, because a prophet, a prophetic champion received the download from God, received the vision and said, I need to see this change happen. God, what happened? And when we came along, we hooked arms together. We stood in agreement. In the mouths of two or three, let all things be established. She stood in agreement, and in the mouths of two or three, this door for this outpost is opening. So if this is something you want to see happening in your territory, in your community, partner with us. Because make no mistake, all of you who partner with us, we're coming to you. We're coming to your doorstep. We're coming to Virginia. We're coming to Washington. We are coming to Massachusetts. We are coming to Ohio. We are coming to Georgia and to Orlando. We are coming all over the United States, North and South Carolina, all over Texas. We are coming to South Africa. We are coming to Namibia and Liberia. And we are coming to India and to Dubai. And we are coming to London. And we are coming to Jamaica. And you name it, we are coming there. But it starts with this outpost, because once we get our foot in the ground, once we get that property, once we get that territory, it's easier to open up the rest. So guys, believe with us. And honestly, I wish I could show you right now everything, the exact thing, that all these doors that are going to open. I wish I could show it to you right now, but I just don't yet, just because I physically don't have the territory yet. I don't have the territory yet. We're having so many doors shut in our faces by the devil, not by God, by the devil, that we are having to push through and fight through. But I know right on the other side of them are the people that are going to help us get this outpost launched. And I'm not just saying that. I know that because we've met these people. We know their names. Michael literally has their contact information in his phone. All they are waiting for is for us to get these finances. And as soon as we got it, they are ready to open the world to us. So guys, partner with us. Let's launch into this vision. And Yeah, let's get started with today's mentorship meetup because if that didn't stir up the fire in your bones, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. Because this little bit of fire that I have is the fire that's going to stir up the fire in yours. That fire that is shut up in your bones, guys, it comes alive when you get together with other fire bringers. You know, when we talked about getting started with ashes and authority, we started in Exodus. We started with the story of Moses and his burning bush experience. But you know, after they left the burning bush experience, they came back to that mountain. Now, historians and archaeologists are a little unsure. They're not in full agreement of this, but it is pretty well believed that the mountain that Moses came to afterwards, Mount Sinai, after the Israelites were freed from the Egyptians, is the same mountain where he had his burning bush experience. But this time, he didn't just have a personal encounter. See, what started with a spark when you first had your encounter with God, what started as a little fire, a burning bush experience, is now going to shape a mountain. It is what will remove that mountain and cast it into the sea. It is what will forever change you and your life to see God's glory and God's power manifest in your life. Turn with me to Exodus chapter 19, and specifically, I'm going to look at verses 16 through 20. I want you to listen. I want you to listen to this story with me, you guys. It says here, and then it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunderings and lightnings and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of the trumpet was very loud, so that all the people who were in the camp trembled. And Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Now, Mount Sinai was completely covered in smoke because the Lord had descended upon it in fire. Its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. And when the blast of the trumpet sounded long and became louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him by voice. Then the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mountain, and the Lord called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. Ladies and gentlemen, before you stands Mount Sinai. Today, Mount Sinai stands before you. And at the top of that mountain, hidden in amongst that fire and all of that smoke, will be the impartation that will change your life forever. We want so badly for the fire of God to come upon us. But we need to understand, just as we spoke about last night, that fire is destructive. Fire is powerful. Did you know historically, to date, fire is the most powerful force known to man? Greater than any explosive, greater than any human concoction or combination that we can come up with. Over time, fire can break down and destroy pretty much anything. And it is uncontrollable. You cannot control fire fully. It is its own will. It has its own desires on what it wants to do. And until it decides that it's done burning, there's nothing you can pretty much do about it. That is how powerful fire is. And when we come to talk about the fire and power of God, I want you to translate that same picture to God. I want you to understand when it comes to the glory and power of God that is shut up in your bones, there is nothing you can do to stop it, and there is nothing you can do to withhold or contain it. You can only maybe direct it. And even then, if a nice breeze comes along, that fire is going to go where that fire wants to go. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. Because that fire is going to do what it was created to do, and that is to burn, and to burn bright, and to burn hard and leave behind a mark that no man can ignore. Because the power of God is all consuming. The power of God is not to be trifled with, and the power of God will remain for millennia until such a time as God removes it from this earth. Because God is the one who first initiated fire. God is the one who created it, and it's God Himself who can remove it from this world. That is the power shut up in your bones. And I want you to take a moment while I'm talking today to feel it. I want you to feel that hot heat that is simmering inside of you just below the surface. I want you to feel the frustration of it being contained, the frustration of being limited by finances, the frustration of being limited by your circumstances, by being frustrated by the limitation of relationships and geographical locations, the limitation of your age, the limitation of your job, the limitation of your church, all of that. I want you to feel that frustration at being contained. And I want you to feel the limits that you are at, because at any minute now, you are going to explode, because that fire has been building, even if you have not been pouring it out. It has been building, and it is building, and it is building. And especially for you wiser folk, you've just learned how to push it down, contain it, and maybe let off some steam every now and then. But just because you let off steam does not mean that fire has truly let loose. And today I want you to really face that discomfort that's welled up inside of you. I'm giving you permission to be dissatisfied with your current life and your current circumstances. Because this life that you have settled for is not the life that God has called you to. It is not the life that God promised to you. It is not the life God has called you to remain in. He called you out of this life. And yes, you've come a ways, and we celebrate and we look back at how far you've come, and it is incredible, but it is not the end destination. God says, I have desired for you to run the race in such a way that you may win it. Win. Do you know what win means? It means you come first place. It means you get the prize. It means you reach it before anybody else does. He did not say, I desire for you to run the race in such a way that you may cross the finish line. He said that you may win it. I want you today to be dissatisfied with always coming in second place. Second place in every aspect of your life. Because God has called you to win the race that He set before you. He has called you to break free and to run into the life that He has for you. A life of prosperity, a life of growth, a life of wisdom. And you know what? Call it a prosperity doctrine. I'm just talking about Genesis. I'm just talking about the very reason we as humans were created in the first place. When we go back to Genesis, ladies and gentlemen, they wanted for nothing. Nothing. Every need, every want, every desire was provided for. That is God's perfect plan for us. That is the fire that He shut up in us. Because when we want and we need for nothing, you know what that leaves us with? The liberty to fellowship and truly just walk in that garden having relationship with God. That's why God wants you to be wealthy and healthy and want for nothing. Because then you have no other reason or excuse not to spend time with Him. Ladies and gentlemen, if you had all the money, I want you to dream with me for a second, okay? I just shared my vision about this outpost with you guys. I want you to dream for a second. If you were to walk into a castle one day, and you get told that you get to stay there with all of your family having their own rooms. You get unlimited funds, unlimited food, and you don't have to do anything at all day because everything has been taken care of. What would you do? What would you do? Truly. Me? I would craft songs like David did. I would learn to play every instrument in the world that God created to sing songs. I would write every story that I could and every book that I could to tell of the greatness of God. I would paint and I would draw and I would learn every form of art to express and just show the world his greatness. I would lay in that bed with him and just talk for hours and hours about his creation, about him, getting to know him. If I could just sit all day and do nothing but just experience his presence and get to know his will and his design for this world and share it with others freely, my goodness, what would this world become if we could do that? Because that's exactly what God's plan was for us all along. That's exactly why this fire has been shut up in your bones, because you haven't had a place to just fully let it out. You have yet to be in a position where every creative thought that God has given you, because He is the creator. Guys, God is the creator. We were created in his own image. So the spirit of creativity is within us. And he's talking to us through that spirit of creativity all along. It's how you get the prophetic visions and words and songs and dances and things that you do, because he's trying to talk to you all day. And you just don't always have the time or opportunity to express it. You don't have the time to learn that art form. You know what happens to me? Maybe I'm crazy, guys. Maybe I'm crazy. But you know what happens to me sometimes during the day? I'll pick up a pencil and a pen and paper, and I will just supernaturally, I will see how to draw something. I will see how something should be drawn. I will see the shading that needs to happen. The only thing that holds me back is my lack of skill to translate what I'm seeing. And it frustrates me because I see this beautiful image that God wants to express on that piece of paper. I see the book that he wants me to write, and I see the story that he wants me to craft. And I see it. It's like real to me. But then I get stuck because I don't have necessarily the actual skill to translate what I'm seeing into real time. And I see this picture and I know how it's going to minister to people. I see the broken hearts that it will heal. I see the anxiety and fear that it will deliver people from. I see the trauma that it will just change in people's lives. And I get stuck and I get frustrated because I feel the fire shut up in my bones. I feel the fire contained. And honestly, I think that's why everybody loves this AI trend that's happening right now, because for the first time ever, we're somehow able to express just a portion of this fire that has been contained in us, because we don't have the skill and we don't have the ability or the time or the opportunity to express it correctly. And it's not true to exactly what we're seeing, and it's not true to exactly what we're feeling, but it's enough for us to at least say, I'm somewhat satisfied. You get the idea of what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing and what I'm picking up. But ladies and gentlemen, if you had it all, if you had all the time in the world, all the ability to get the mentors, to take the classes, to get the supplies, to do whatever it is you needed to do to express that full time, imagine how much more impact we would have as a body of Christ. That's why it's important that you recognize the fire within you. That's why God has been trying to shift your life so much. That's why God took the Israelites back to Mount Sinai, because it was at Mount Sinai that they became the people with a prosperity mindset that would open the way for Solomon, that would open the way for all of the blessing and all of the prosperity that would come. Because while they had lived in Egypt, they remained shut up. The bondage of slavery, the mentality of slavery, of how to live for as slaves, was so inbred into their DNA that they had no way of recognizing the prosperity of Eden that God had for them, that God wanted to introduce them to. They couldn't understand it. They couldn't fathom it. That's why they were so busy complaining. That's why they were so busy getting hankering and tasting after the leeks of Egypt, because they didn't know any other prosperity. They didn't know any other form of blessing. They didn't know any other form of greatness that God had for them. They couldn't grasp the image that God had. See, today we've got the Bible. We can read about Genesis. We could read about the garden that he had, but back then they didn't. Moses was going up to the mountain to get that blueprint, to get that picture, to teach it to them. That's why he was going up to that mountain and spending so much time with God, because God was literally having him write down books of the Bible. He was having him inscribe his law, inscribe his desires, his picture, his vision for their future on stone, so that the people would have something to look at and conform their minds to, because the only mindset they had was Egypt. It was the world power. It was the civilization, an image of prosperity in that time frame. They were the epitome of what it meant to be wealthy, healthy, to have the best of the best. So, of course, they hungered after Egypt. They hungered after that because that was inscribed, that was in their bones. God shut up that desire and fire in their bones. But that was all they knew. And so God had to take them out to show them the new, to show them his intended purpose for them. Are you tracking with me, ladies and gentlemen? Are you catching the fire and how powerful it really is? The power to say to that mountain, be removed and cast into the sea. The power over life and death to say, Lazarus, come forth. If you want that power, you want that authority, you've got to understand the fire shut up in your bones. Because when it comes to the restoration and the healing nature of fire, guys, it is powerful. Fire renews ecosystems. Fire clears out dead vegetation, making room for new growth. It recycles nutrients back into the soil, enriching it and accelerating regeneration. Guys, it refines and restores the vision that God had for you. See, over the years, you've been wounded, you've been rejected, you've had to die to so many visions. And those visions, those dead things, pile up after a while. Those lost relationships, those lost opportunities, those dead ends that you hit time and time again, all of those things that you regret, that restricted you, that put that layer over that fire that's made you feel so frustrated all these years, those dead things need to be burned by fire so that the vision can be refined and restored as God always intended for it to be. God's fire brings out this enriching soil that will accelerate regeneration in your life. Fire also activates seeds in the grounds. It triggers the dormant blessings of your bloodlines. God is a God of bloodlines. Here's the thing you need to understand. When you read through the Bible, I don't know about you guys, but there are a couple books of the Bible that are just all about bloodlines. Oh, Lord, all about those lines, all about those bloodlines. I was listening to the Bible, and sometimes I had to really resist the temptation to skip. And honestly, sometimes I did not resist that temptation to skip a few chapters because I just could not stand listening to hours on end. This person birthed this person, this birthed this person who had this many sons, who did this, who did that, who did. I was like, no, I can't deal with it, Jesus. But why is it in the Bible? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the Bible is our hand guide or handbook to how the world works. The Bible is God's playbook for how the world works. So, why in this handbook did God make such a point of saying, look at these bloodlines? Because bloodlines are important to God. He is a master designer and weaver, and he weaved together very particular bloodlines to birth Moses to deliver the people out of Egypt, that would then get together and birth very particular bloodlines that would then birth David, who would then birth Jesus. He was very deliberate. Make no mistake, every single one of those bad kings in between the birth of David and to the birth of Jesus were not an accident. God weaved those people together. And you know what? Sometimes we look at our bloodlines and we look at all the bad people in our bloodlines, right? We look at the murderers and the abusers, and we look at all the wrongs and sins that our people in our bloodlines have committed. And make no mistake, that was the other mention we made about dealing with family altars. Make no mistake. But Gideon was always destined to be a priest because of his bloodline. He just wasn't meant to be a priest of Baal like his father. He was meant to be a priest of the one true God. And so that's why he had to deal with his family altar. Because the altar that he meant to worship at as a priest was the one of the one true God. And he could not take part in the blessing of his bloodline, his priestly bloodline, until he displaced the altar of Baal in his house. Ladies and gentlemen, your bloodline, from who you came, is not an accident. God weaved you together because there is a seed of blessing and a seed of prosperity. There is something in your bloodline that is meant to open up the door for that fire in your life. And you're so busy condemning your blood, you're so busy condemning where you came from, you have not stopped to ask God, where do I come from? Where do I come from? What is my legacy? What is my inheritance? What altar am I meant to be tearing down to partake in the blessing of my bloodline that you weave together? Yes, the devil got in. Yes, he messed some things up along the way. And there are some demons that you're going to need to take by the horns and you're going to need to put into submission. And there are some demons you're going to need to spear. But at the end of the day, you are beautifully and wonderfully made in the image of God with all of that messed up bloodline. Why? Because there is a note of God's DNA that came from your bloodlines that would not be there if you did not have the blood flowing through your veins that you do. So seed regeneration, it triggers the dormant blessings of your bloodlines. Of course, pest and disease control, it brings clarity of identity in Christ. You see, fires can reduce populations of insects, parasites, and pathogens that may harm trees or crops. They also thin out dense underbrush that reduce the competition for improving tree health. It kills the things that are stifling your growth and your identity, that are stifling your ability to accept who you are and who God created you to be. There's a lot of weight that comes with your name, that comes with your origin story. And you need to take a moment to recognize that some of that stuff, of course, it needs to be cleared away. But not all of it needs to be cleared away because there's some very healthy trees in there. There's some trees that have been fighting for space because of all the curses, because of all the character traits, because of all that restriction. And once fire removes that restriction, now we can begin to grow the healthy trees. We can begin to grow and help in the regeneration of what God had always intended in your bloodline to begin with. Finally, fire, the nature of fire, brings wildlife management. It creates a space for new relationships and connections. You see, fire prevents some species actually depend on post-fire environments. Did you know that? There are some seeds and plants that actually require heat or smoke to open up the shell that's preventing them from sprouting. And there are even some animals that actually depend on post-fire environments. So, for example, woodpeckers nest in burnt trees, and deer graze on the new green shoots that come up from the soil. Fire also maintains open grasslands and meadows, which again support grazing and pollinating creatures. This opens up the way for new growth. This opens up the way for sustaining that growth and causing reproduction in your life. Guys, it creates space for new relationships and connections. God is removing from you, like we spoke last week, certain relationships, not necessarily because they're bad, but because they were taking up space in your life. They were taking up space in your life and preventing the relationships that were going to make you healthy, that were going to help open the doors to make you wealthy, that were going to help you just be who God needed you to be. Because we're not meant to be alone. We were created for, our base nature created for relationship. Ergo, we need relationships to be successful in this world. If you want to be successful in your ministry, in your business, in any aspect, in your marriage, in raising your children, in being a good daughter or son or aunt or uncle, or in whatever capacity, whatever you want to be successful in, you need a relationship or multiple relationships to create that success. I mean, just let's go bare basics, right? According to even the world standards. In order to have a successful business, like you could have your own self-run business, right? You need customers. That's a relationship. And in order to have customers, they've got to have some sort of relationship with you. If you want to be successful in life, in any capacity, you need the right relationships, guys. And so God is sending fire to remove from you relationships that are eating up your time, eating up your resources, so that you can actually invest into the relationships that will help you grow and produce the fire that God has for you. A lot of your restriction, there are a few of you who are listening today, and you know exactly who you are. A lot of you today have been restricted by your relationships. And you know you are restricted by your relationships, but you felt guilty. You felt guilty about no longer helping those people. You felt guilty about no longer being there for those people. You felt guilty because, well, they have no one else to help them, no one else to save them, no one else to get them out of this thing. God obviously connected us, ergo, I'm here in for the long run. Did he, though? Maybe God just wanted you to give them those baby clothes so that their children would be okay until they found a job for themselves to go buy their own baby clothes. Maybe you were just meant to be the stopgap. Maybe you weren't meant to be their savior. Maybe God was. Maybe God was meant to save them. And in you trying to be the good person you were, you took that place. And so now they're relying on you to always save them, relying on you to always bail them out, relying on you to pray out their demons, relying on you to make sure they sleep well and they eat well and they dress well and they do everything well and they have good relationships instead of God. Because what they need is not you. What they need is fire. They need the fire shut up in their bones to break free and be an all-consuming power that will leave them irreversibly changed so they will never be there ever again. Maybe that's what they need. I'm not saying let us not be charitable. I'm not saying let us not love. Let us not give to the poor. Let us not give to the widows. Let us not be Christian and do what God has asked of us to do for our community and for our neighbors. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying stop investing in the things that are eating up the nutrients that are meant to be helping what God needs to grow. Because God asked you to write that book. Because God asked you to start that vision and that ministry. And God asked you to paint that painting, to do that dance, because God asked you to go and do that prayer ministry. God asked you to lay that sword at the feet of your apostle. God asked you to start that outpost in San Diego. God asked you to insert what you know God told you to do. And you're so busy worrying about all the people that will be left behind when you leave that you are stifling the tree, you are stifling the beautiful vision that God has for you with all that underbrush. Until fire comes and it removes it. Ladies and gentlemen, next week we go into prophetic activation. See, what I've been doing these last 3 weeks, I've been setting you up. I've been preparing you to receive fire. I've been preparing you to handle fire. I've been breaking you that shell that's been on you, that has been restricting you. And what my husband is going to do next week is bring fertilizer. He's going to pour that liquid on your fire and it is going to explode everywhere. Because we may not be able to control fire, but we can, in some aspects, direct it. We can, in some aspects, manage where it goes and what it burns. We can do that. We can make sure we are walking exactly where God needs us to. So what I want to ask you to look into and to consider this week as you prepare for my husband's activation next week is what kind of burn is it going to take to get you where you need to go? See, even according to the natural, there are 4 degrees of burns. There's the first degree, which is a superficial burn. It usually takes about like a week to heal. There's pain, of course, but there's usually never any scarring. It's just uncomfortable and it takes a little while to heal, which is the epidermis, it's a superficial burn. And this is your lifestyle changes. For some of you, you just need a little tweaking. For some of you, it's just a small change of lifestyle. Maybe a change in eating habits, a change of what you're watching, a change of what you're listening to, a change on, like, maybe you need to go out for walks more often. You need to spend more time outdoors. You need to get out. You need to go, go visit more people, or you need to visit less people. Maybe you need to work more or you need to work less. It's going to be a small lifestyle change. It's not super big. It's going to take a little bit of work on your part, but it's superficial. And that's all you need. That's really just all you need right now. You need to just get in the right environment for that fire to be released. The second is a 2nd degree burn. This goes a little bit beyond the epidermis, or the top layer of your skin, and it starts getting to that other layer. So we've got a couple of layers of skin that we got to get through, and so it gets underneath that. This one is a 2 to 3 week healing period. Yes, again, there's pain because it hurts, and there might be some scarring, possibly. There might be some possible scarring, and this is your relationships. These are your relationships. There's going to be not just a change in your lifestyle, but in relationships too. The people that you've been working with, that have been coming to you, how you work with them. These relationships need to shift. These relationships need to change because they are restricting or they are stealing the resources that you need in order to really unleash that fire where God needs you to. They're the people there. Every time you start running full sprint, every time you start getting excited for a vision, something comes up and you've got to dampen your fire for a little bit while you take care of this problem, while you help them out. And you gotta, okay, let me put this aside. Let me come and do this thing for you first. Those kinds of people, those kinds of relationships. The third degree burn, full dermis. Oh, this is where we go all through those skin layers. There's actually very little pain when it comes to this kind of burn. And that's a misnomer about when we're going through our prophetic process. The first two kinds, there's going to be pain because we're not damaging nerve endings yet. We're not damaging or really affecting any major impact on our bodies. It hurts because it's uncomfortable. But when it comes to actual full-on character changes, the full dermis, yeah, this is going to take a couple months, you guys. This is going to take a couple months, and it is going to leave a scar. It's going to leave a scar that will be shown off to the world. And you are going to have to learn how to live with it because it's irreversible. It's completely, you cannot ignore it. It is meant to be displayed. It must be displayed. See, these other two changes, you can hide those very easily. They don't need to be displayed for the world. They don't need to make a statement. But this kind is where a statement needs to be made of, I am no longer going to be this person. I am no longer living this lifestyle. I need to be who God needs me to be. I need to become this vessel. My relationships, my life, everything has got to change. How I speak needs to change. How I think needs to change. How I want and what I do and don't want, what I do and don't like needs to change because I'm going to change other people. See? Now we get to a deeper level. And the final degree. Oh, the fourth degree. This is the fire that burns through muscle and bone. Again, no pain because it burned through all the nerve endings. It's uncomfortable. Recovery is a long and extensive recovery. And these kinds of burns, no one can ignore. They're the kinds of burns where you walk down the street and the people look at you and say, what happened to you? The glory is on you. The glory is on you and nobody can ignore you. They walk past you and they feel fire. They come in your presence and they are convicted of sin. They come near you and they realize that, yeah, you are living a lifestyle they are not ready to even come near of. You are consumed by fire. And the people around you will be consumed too. This kind is where it affects spirit, soul, and body. It's not just good enough that your character changes. Who you are, spirit, soul, and body. It is a full-on total rewiring. You will get healthy. You will look a certain way. Your image is important. How you do your nails, your hair, your makeup. See, this is where I'm at. I'm being scarred. God is in the process of scarring me because I need to represent a very particular image to his people. That's why my hair is blue and purple. It's why my makeup and my hair and my nails must always be on point because it's not about me wanting to look good for everybody. In fact, I could care less. Ask my mother how hard she had to fight me to do my skincare and put on makeup as a child. The amount of times I came down the stairs as a teenager, my mother would look at me and she would say, you look like death. Go put on some makeup. Now as a teenager, nobody wants to hear that. She's like, you look like death warmed up. Go put on some makeup. And I said, I don't get what you're talking about. See, but it wasn't her. See, it wasn't her. God said you're meant to bring life to my people and you will care about what I want you to show my people. I want you to show my people something. I want you to be a very particular image to my people, to the people I'm called you to. And so, yes, you will do your makeup. Yes, you will do your hair. Yes, you will dress well. Yes, you will make sure your nails look great. And yes, maybe other people can call me superficial. Maybe other people can call me whatever you want to call me. Whatever, I don't care. I know what God called me to do. God called me to hold and present a very particular image to my tribe. And if I have even one day where I feel lazy, where I feel like I don't want to, that fire comes out and it reminds me. Those burns begin to sting. as God reminds me of the fire that I went through and that He's required of me to carry. And He said, "You want this? You will do it my way. You will be circumcised. You want this? Just as the Israelites had to partake in the blessing and of the power that I gave to Moses and the Israelites, they had to be circumcised, just as I required Abraham to be circumcised. Be circumcised. And let that scar sting. Let that scar be a reminder of the image, spirit, soul, and body that I require you to represent to the church. Not everybody, guys, is called to this 4th degree burn. But I want you to recognize the vision. I want you to recognize the fire shut up in your bones. For some of you, it's a 1st degree burn. For others, it's going to be a 4th degree. What is your burn that you need to accomplish the vision shut up in your bones? What fire is it going to take to bring the change you need to see in your life, to change the community, to change the system that you have been positioned in? Now, in a moment, we are going to go into our breakout room. But first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to my apostles. I want to give a shout out to some of my incredible co-champions in the faith that are here in the room with me. Thank you guys so much for honoring us with your presence. Thank you so much for honoring us being here, because I would not be here, and half our tribe would not be here if it was not for the sacrifice. If it had not been for my apostles going hungry and walking up and down the beaches down here in Rosarito when they had nothing else to do, late into the night, praying, decreeing, prophesying, we would not be here today, guys. We walk in the legacy of our apostles who paid every single price so we don't have to. Their ceiling is our floor. It is our foundation, and we are going to rise higher than ever before because of the price that they paid, because of the work and the travail, because of everything, the blood, the sweat, the scars that they bury, and they have been burned many, many times. But I have yet to see apostles more proud of their scars, more on fire, and more willing to run further into those furnaces than my apostles. So thank you. I honor my apostles Craig and Colette Toach. Thank you guys so much for everything you've invested into me, invested into my husband, my family, and our tribe. We are rising higher because of you guys. And to my fellow champions, I see Jess, I saw Rebecca, I saw Dalton jump in there, and any of my other champions who I don't see at the moment. Thank you guys so much for being here, for being part of the support and helping us go where we need to go, because we wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. And once this outpost is done, we are going to have a big old tribe get together, because this is part of what you guys began birthing so many years ago. You gave us this pattern, and we're taking it to the next generation. So thank you guys so much. We love you tons. We're going to go into our breakout room where I'm going to answer any questions that you guys may have, where I'm going to mentor you back and forth. Guys, hang out. If you're on social media, make sure you've joined us in the Zoom room to be here for you guys. My apostles, thank you guys again for joining us. For the rest of you guys, join us next week for the practical application and impartation with my husband, your big brother, Michael Felthazen, guys. He is going to bring out the fire inside of you guys. The rest of you, we're going into our breakout room. I love you guys tons. Mwah!